Hello, welcome back. We are right back at it again with Rise from the Ashes. I don't know why I'm saving my data again when I just did that last time, but we're going to continue into the trial ladder. We are getting ever closer to the end of this chapter of the game, and therefore the end of the game entirely. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Gumshoe, you always have the worst timing. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Aw, he looks sad. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? He looks like a sad puppy. You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty, and to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana's having you run errands again. Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? It seems so. You could at least study some evidence law, really. Yeah. You'd think you would have learned that in law school, but apparently not. The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said if you planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book. Him. Guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Miss Sky explains the 2 rules of evidence law. An entire book dedicated to 2 simple rules. Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence. Let me look at it real quick. Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Got it. That's where you're wrong, detective. Huh? Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat, despite all these allegations being thrown at me. Mr. Edgeworth, the real trial today hasn't begun yet. What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you're unaware of. Emma Sky found out she unwittingly caused a man's death, and now you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal. Yeah, I understand. I understand his frustration there. You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. What? We're gonna expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. February 25th. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well... Normally, this is where the prosecution calls for the witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have, struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses. I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking, and... Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. A solution. That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. Must there always be precedent, Your Honor? It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Of course he has. He's ridiculously stubborn. Very well, the defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The, defense may now call forth the next witness. Mr. Wright? You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls... It's finally come to bring up the real murderer, Damon Gant. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything? Well, you see, Your Honor, he has everything to do with all of it. As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Dude, pointing that out makes you sound more suspicious. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? True. Alright, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand. Always with that weird thing going on with his hair. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Hang on, I'm trying to drink water. I always do this at the worst times. Water. Keeps me hydrated. What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. In case you hadn't realized this, Gant, he's not the one who called you. So, you wanted to play hardball, eh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. For now. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto. What's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh, like what? Like the role you played in all of this. Son, either you're very brave, or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Are you threatening me? Sure, take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify. Of course, such an act carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. His mouth looks like a frog. No, I said that about Lotta, didn't I? I said that Lotta looks like a frog. Very well, the witness may now begin his testimony. Okay, this part of the trial actually doesn't go on that long. At the very least, there's not too much that I have to do. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she'd already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Are you sure about that? Is that when Dark was arrested? Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. That's an awfully convenient explanation. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. I mean, even in, like, because obviously, Ace Attorney, made by Capcom, Japan-based company, so the game, like, the legal system and whatnot is largely based on Japan, but obviously, even in America, you can refuse to testify. I think, like, specifically on the grounds of, like, you don't, you can't be forced into self-incrimination, basically. Like, if you're a defendant or you're, like, being accused of something, you don't have to give any testimony or evidence that could incriminate you. Something like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Okay, so if that's the truth, why was a piece of the jar hiding in your safe? Objection! You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. But I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example. That's that wood badger you showed us earlier. No, Your Honor, it's a jar. A piece of this jar was discovered in your safe. Not only that, but the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside your desk. It was found where? Inside his desk, Your Honor. You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. I mean, I've defeated him in court twice now. Twice, I think? It was the case where Wright was found guilty. It was Mia's death and the Steel Samurai case. So yeah, I've beaten Edgeworth in 2 cases, exactly. So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? I was still in law school. Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Well, why don't you ask Emma and Gumshoe? They were there when I found it. Isn't that right, Righto? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put 2 and 2 together. You're right. We don't. I'm dumb as shit. And that's my fault. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Is that so? Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Oh, you're not going to be chief of police for very long, my guy. Soon you're going to be in a jail cell. Ooh. Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. Don't adjust your tie at me. That's rude. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. Alright, Haji, in return, though. I know, that place, right? Huh? What are these guys, telepathic? It's none of our concern right now. It looks like there's something right in front of the door. Like I can see its shadow. I don't know what it is, but it's been there for a bit now. It's possibly my cat. It might be my cat. Who knows? Okay, so what do I do? Press Gant on the statement to rearrange the crime scene. Okay, I'm gonna press you again. I doubt what you're saying. Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this. Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police. Oh. The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Ho, 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 ho! That's a good one! Huh? Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, rather, Edgeworth? No, I can't talk. Yes, he was going to be made chief anyway. Gah! Be careful when pointing that finger. You might wind up being the one pointed at. You're gonna accuse me of murder next? Been there, done that. I've already been accused of one murder. Which is a lot. Being accused of one murder is still a lot. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. You didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. That's one person. There, it's out in the open now. Archie, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? By all means, please do. There's nothing in it for me. I'm gonna press you on that now. Nothing in it for you? Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right, you don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people, that's how I was raised. That's a strange thing to be raised to follow. You seem to be lax enough on yourself. Oh ho! Ho! Oh, that's a good one, Worthy! Could there have been something in it for him? Probably. Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? Point out accomplice. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well, then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Well, who else? Lana is like the only option. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant. I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SO9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all of this? He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? My fucking god. You're so incompetent. Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind. Fucking god, Your Honor. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive, to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her. The judge is like even more incompetent than usual. Right, oh my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana, just keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodwin. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial, almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. I feel like you don't mean that. Just what do you mean? Judge, Your Honor, please consider a career change. What he means, Your Honor, or retirement. Just retire. Just stop working, go home, live out the last 4 years of your life in peace. You know, I feel like this whole judge job is not working out for you. Is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? You just figured that out. Welcome. You're finally in the same library as us. Order, I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest-ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? That's impossible. Well, I just did it. I just accused him. So clearly it is possible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier-to-understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder? Good question. I don't know if I can. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. I see. Alright, then, let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. Well, you see. Take that! It's this. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There's one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7777777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. You can't prove that's my number. No, it's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean... Oh, I mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7777777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Not a very good, smart choice of password, if you ask me. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Oh, he looks mad now. An innocent man would not get that angry. I'd like to think. Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I would demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I could go anywhere I want. One requires an ID card and the other doesn't. Don't think you usually need an ID card to enter a bathroom. I almost called you Your Honor. You're not the judge. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Can you stop comparing them? They're not the same thing. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. Yeah, and by proving Gant is guilty, we're proving Lana Sky is not. No, it isn't true. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Oh. Can only be submitted to the Chief of Police. Isn't that awkward? Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. To be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. Right, that is an important detail. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. If you're in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure he filed it. If he filed it, how do you know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to. Yes, to transfer the evidence out. The evidence transfer all day. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him. Yeah, that's what I just said. Were you not listening? Clean out your ears so you can hear better. There's no other way that murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait, the chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Objection! Oh, that's awfully convenient for you, isn't it? Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the records, your card was only used once. But you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. Oh, he's, Damon Gant's not having a good time. He's going Super Saiyan. Chief Gant, you didn't. The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. All this time I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. It's apparently the screwdriver. Where is that again? Right, yeah. Take that! This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. Oh, what's that? A screwdriver? Yeah, he told Edgeworth to bring it to the prosecutor's office, and that was how the body got moved. So now Edgeworth's gonna have to deal with the revelation of there was a dead body in the trunk of his car when he was driving. But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is the screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Now you get it. I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. And there's the answer. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean I... The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Sucks for you, man. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Yes, unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. Order, what's going on here? Sorry, I hear someone walking around. I think it's just my sister, though, it'll be fine. Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Why are you calling them outrageous? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe... Your time's up. My time's up? Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the early bird special. You're on trial. Your lunch can wait. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier. A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed the old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had gone and disposed of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusation against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body. Do I have any concrete proof? Nope. It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. See, Yoji. In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief. What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Yoji, I'll leave the rest to you. And he just dematerializes. Fades away. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency. What? Lady Luck. Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth. Another witness. In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. Chief Gant has invoked his right to testify. Revoked his right to refuse to testify, rather. I can't talk. There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth... Lana Skye. Take that! The defendant. Miss Lana Skye. She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21st. Her task? To dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth. The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in Hold on. Huh? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. Are you threatening my client? That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. This isn't good. Well, then we just have to prove that Emma didn't kill Neil Marshall. Simple. Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then, I've got a lunch date to meet. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. Is this gonna... Oh, no, okay, there's still a little bit more. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief, he's something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Hey, don't worry. I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Oh, Maya? You mean... Maya? Oh, I miss Maya now. I miss her. I want her back. Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said. But, Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. there were certain risks to be considered. Risks? What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean... Who's that talking? Ah, it's Emma. Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. Right, she fainted. Sorry, it happened so long ago, I already forgot. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery, so she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. See, that's where you're wrong. And I'm gonna prove it. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you're gonna blame anyone, blame society, pal. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now, I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. Well, we'd better get back. It's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Damn right it is, and we're gonna do it in the next video. Suckers. This one's gonna be a while. I might have to do the next one in 2 videos. Save your progress up to this point? Hell yeah. Overwrite select to save data? Hell yeah. But anyway, that's all for now. See you in the next one. We're gonna finish this up real soon. Bye!